2001 was a big year. The Mars Odyssey spacecraft was launched. AOL was the world's most popularly visited website. Look how that ended up. And historically, the most hideous act of terrorism took place on 9/11. Also in 2001, Suzuki launched the GSXR 1000. It was available in blue, red or black. Modelled from the 750, in fact it was identical to the 750, it was designed to beat the all-conquering Yamaha YZF R1 on the street. It had more power, it was lighter, and it handled so much better than what the YZF R1 did. But it couldn't race and assert its dominance in world superbikes. Four-cylinder bikes were limited to a capacity of 750cc, so the R1 and the GSXR both could not compete. The same thing was said for British Superbikes in 2001. However, in 2002, things changed. British Superbikes upped the limit to 1000cc, meaning the GSXR could make its debut.
Three men, though, Rizzler Suzuki's John Reynolds knew that he would have to put in a stunning time in this Dunlop-sponsored Super Pole, and qualifying tyres were fitted all round because it definitely was going to be blistering hot, blisteringly fast, and Reynolds did just that, delivering 131.7. What wonderful weather here, and what a thrilling prospect we have ahead of us as race one here in round 11 of the Motorcycle News British Superbike Championship gets underway at Alton Park, and a four-cylinder in the shape of the Rizzler Suzuki of reigning champion John Reynolds heads them into Old Hall and away down the avenue to Cascades, the left-hander for the first time in gloriously sunny weather. John Reynolds leads then along Lakeside. There's a long line of cement on the left-hand side. They're looking forward from Shane Byrne in hot pursuit. That cement dumped from the Superstock race earlier in the day, where a bike came along here with a hole in the engine. Not a good move, but that, Steve, is a good move.
Suzuki were able to obtain the signature of John Reynolds to ride the GSXR 1000 K1 in its maiden season in British Superbikes. Didn't all go Suzuki's way, however. The bike had plenty of potential, but it needed development and time. They were up against the Ducatis, which had been riding for season after season after season, with multiple bikes on the grid, and that had so much development over the years, making them absolute weapons on track. The GSXR 1000 K1 was a good bike. It was a solid starting place for what would essentially be a race-winning package the following season.
Side into Old Hall Corner, now up into third place. Consummate ease. He just swept down the inside of Rutter, used a bit of curb coming out of it.
We can. Meanwhile, the riders circulate under the pace car rules. Pace car is in, lights are out, green flag situation, race back on here. There's the green flag waving on the start-finish straight, and Shane Byrne, Rutter diving under Steve Hislop. He caught Steve Hislop napping there, and Rutter had the drive as the pace car came in, but the coals on the Ducati really got it smoking, and he's up to third place. Number 6, Michael Rutter, third in the championship. 5 wins so far. The man chasing him, Steve Hislop, has had 7 wins. Race leader Shane Byrne has had 3 wins, and John Reynolds in second place, 1 on the bike. He's only had 1 win in the 2002 championship, trying to make it 2. The only other winner, there have been 5 of them, Sean Emmett trailing, but don't forget nursing a very, very bruised left hand.
And of course that win was on the IFC Ducati, not on the Virgin Yamaha that he's on now.
Rounds to go on the calendar after this one, Mallory Park, and the grand finale as Michael Rutter dives up the inside of John Reynolds. The grand finale at Donington, and may this championship go all the way to the wire, because it's been an absolute stunner. I wish no ill to befall Steve Hislop. He deserves this title. He's ridden so hard. He lost it last year in the very closing stages through bad luck. Reynolds, though, not having a bit of it on the inside of Michael Rutter, making him go the long way round. Steve Hislop diving up the hole in the middle. Rutter at the hairpin on the inside. Steve is nip and tuck.
It really is. That was tricky stuff there for number 6 Rutter. He was forced out very wide. That's the dirty part of the circuit, but he held his line. Forceful riding there from number 1 John Reynolds, but Rutter really stays there, so it's Renegade. Steve Hislop down the inside on that bumpy part of the circuit. He just forced his way down it, runs a bit wide, but he's got the drive up the hill. It's now Ducati, 1, 2, 3 there. John Reynolds on the 4-cylinder bike, they're in 4th place.
The dominance of the Ducatis was clear and obvious for anyone to see. I mean, they're running the top 3 in the race right now, and they've clearly got the better pace.
So Rutter goes past, Hislop goes past. In the twinkling of an eye, Shane Byrne goes from the lead to third, and he's being pressed now by John Reynolds, who's muscling this big Suzuki round here.
And Hislop is really looking threatening now. He's closing things down, and Reynolds on the inside of Shane Byrne. Is he going to do it? Yes, he does. John Reynolds dives down the inside there. That's the Renegade team watching what's going on the monitor in the pit.
Good overtaking move by John Reynolds. Now Hislop showing his hand on the inside of Michael Rutter at Old Hall and claiming it and going in so hot.
This is back at the front, second place there we're looking at now, Michael Rutter, number 6. John Reynolds getting faster and faster on that Suzuki. Every time he comes here, really much quicker than he was at Alton Park early in the year. Really seems to have sorted the chassis out in the Suzuki, and look at the speed of it. He comes down the inside, trying for second place now. Will he outbrake Rutter? No, he won't. That nimble Ducati again slots it in there nicely. His lot really, though, is escaping.
Well, John Reynolds seems to be making good moves on the brakes. He's very good on getting that Rizzler Suzuki slowed down into the turns. Shaky Byrne's right behind him. He's very much the filling in the Renegade sandwich here. Rutter ahead of him, Shane Byrne behind him. Definitely John Reynolds needs to be doing something. And watching now from Shane Byrne as Rizzler Suzuki goes through on the inside of Michael Rutter. That's a carbon copy of the Simon Crafar move. Lo and behold, a very angry and frustrated John Reynolds struggles, gets the bike up. He will be back in the race, but he's lost all his impetus, all his momentum, and that fantastic early part of the race is all for nothing.
Yeah, such a shame there for John Reynolds. You can see him trying to brake. He's got the rear brake on. He had to let the front brakes off when he ran out wide. He got into the gravel trap there and just couldn't hold it upright.
Race number 1 then, victory number 1 here for Hislop.
So the 2002 bike didn't do very well at racing. It was a maiden voyage year. The following year would be a different story completely. But what were they like to own? Well, I was fortunate enough to own one of these in around about 2010. I didn't have a lot of money at the time and I needed the bike for work. So I bought myself quite a battered example and spent some time making it look a bit more, I'd like to say pretty, but well, you can judge yourself. I owned it for 2 years. I never had one single mechanical fault. It was big, it was roomy, it was plenty fast, and having taken it onto tracks myself, I can say it was plenty good enough for the track. All in all, it was a great bike. You wouldn't think that it was made all those years ago. So the bike was amazing. It was great on the road, fantastic on the track, and it was big enough that you could actually travel a fair distance without needing a chiropractor afterwards. All in all, it was a superb package, and I believe it has firmly set the way for the future of modern sports bikes. But what about today? Well, these are now starting to go up in value. Because of their age, if you can find a classic, good quality, standard example of one of these bikes, you will make money. There's no doubt about it. Classic bikes are always going to go up in value, and this is definitely 100% a classic